This is the Fish and Coach Show. On today's episode, we interviewed Rebbitzin Lori Palatnik, who is truly a mentor in both of our lives.
She is amazing, and I see her a lot, but sitting here for an hour listening to her, it makes my blood and it just gets so excited. She's so amazing. She's full of wisdom. She started this movement called Momentum 13 years ago, and I don't think anyone in the world would have thought that this movement could have become as large as it did. She's brought over 22,000 women to Israel and a few thousand men in the last 13 years, and she's nothing short of one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my life.
It's truly reshaping the Jewish landscape.
Yeah, and you'll see when you listen to this interview, you'll see how she's been able to succeed so well.
This is an episode you're going to want to listen to with a pen and paper in hand. I highly recommend taking notes. Enjoy what you hear.
Yeah, we'll see you after the show. I'm so excited to have you today on our podcast. I can't believe you're here.
It's my pleasure. Thank
this
you for
has
inviting me.
been years and years in the work that we could, and then finally we have a podcast, and you're probably one of my favorite people in the world, as you know.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
my
supposed to be a
pleasure.
fanboy.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to have you here. It's I've really become close to you and your husband over the last year, and it's meant so much, and it's so cool to have you on the Fish and Co Show. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes. So I just wanted to say, my wife went when you started an organization called Momentum, and it has taken off like crazy. How did this whole thing start?
Well, it started a few years ago. I'd say in the early 2000s, I became a speaker in the Jewish world.
Yes.
There's a lot of men speaking. There's not a lot of women. And when I would go to different countries and cities, I saw that communities were going in the wrong direction. And I knew because of our work in Jewish communal work that a community in general lives and dies based on where the women are at. So I knew that if I could just give me your women, I can turn this around. But I didn't have a vehicle for it. So I gathered 7 other women together. I was living in the Washington, D.C. area at the time in Rockville, Maryland, as you know, because you were a guest at our home for Shabbat many times.
Yes.
And I gathered 7 other women in the area, and we went away. We actually went to Utah because one of the women owns a beautiful place in Utah, ski in, ski out. And I consulted with people who do this for businesses, people who take an eclectic group of people into a boardroom and they walk through a process where they come to a common mission, vision, and purpose. And I went to this person and I said, can I apply what you do for business to a nonprofit? And I told her, I'm going away with these 7 women. We want to come up with a home run idea by harnessing the power of Jewish women.
Is this something you've done before, the process, or anything like it?
Listen, I've been in a lot of rooms and a lot of conferences and a lot of seminars where you have this, and this, but I just felt that, business and nonprofit business, they're both businesses. And so I'm going to somebody who is smart in business, just like you, Daniel, and it's like, okay, can I apply that chachma, that wisdom, to an idea? So she said yes, and so I said, how do I do it? So I took a piece of paper and a pen. She's telling me, and I'm making notes, and then I said, can we bottom line this? Because I'm not so patient with process. And so she said, Lori, if you're patient and you do what I say, magic will happen. Trust me. I'm like, okay. So I wrote everything down, and then we went away, and I started walking through walking them through this process, and some of them were like me. Like, can we just bottom line this? Because they want to ski. And I said, if you're patient and you do what I say, magic will happen. Trust me. And magic happened. And let me tell you the first couple of steps, because you can apply this to anything in life. First couple of steps. Number 1, what are my core values? And we had to write them down. What are my core values?
So you started with individuals' core values.
What are my personal core values?
Right.
Number 2, describe. What would my life look like if I lived them?
Ooh,
describe your life.
How can they be your core values if you're not living them?
No. So first of all, everybody has core values. You don't really think about what they are, and now you have to articulate them. Does everybody live their values every day? No, they don't. No. Okay. But what would my life look like? Describe your life. What would your family look like? Mm-hmm. What would your community look like? What would the Jewish people look like? What would the world look like? Then, we were all very eclectic, by the way. These 8 women, including myself.
Tell us about them.
Very different. This was Washington, D.C. area, where
politics.
We all grew up in that area.
We grew up
also. Politics is the religion of the area. Half were very, very Democrat, and half were very, very Republican.
Whoa.
To this day, that you leave your politics at the door.
Yeah.
Okay? I always say I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm up.
I
Okay?
wonder, did politics really stay out of the process?
So we kept the politics out the door. Obviously, politics affects your values,
Right.
but really, when you drill down, a lot of us share the same core values. When you take the politics out and you drill down, because we all basically want the same thing. I'm just saying Jew, non-Jew, like your average person. So then and these people were eclectic, not only Democrat, Republican, they were at different stages of life. One was single at the time, one was married with no kids, one had little kids, one had teenagers, one was becoming an empty nester. I
Wow.
wanted everybody's voice. Half were Shomer Shabbat, half kept the Shabbat, half did not. Usually, when you walk into a room, first of all, the idea's usually already been decided. I have an idea, I call you to a meeting, help me with this idea. First of all, we didn't have the idea yet. We're laying the foundation.
Did you have the problem?
We definitely knew the problem.
You knew the problem.
Because we knew that that values of the world and the Jewish people are supposed to be a light unto the nation, and we're a
Right.
very dim light. How do you light up the nation? We felt that focusing on women is the investment.
So the focus was that the values were deteriorating.
Right. So we
Okay.
want to influence the influencer in order to go much quicker. Like
Right.
we didn't start this because we're a bunch of girls. Like I'll be in the Knesset now, like in the Jewish parliament, and I'm like lobbying, Israeli parliament, and I'm lobbying for funds. And I tell them, we didn't start this because we're a bunch of girls. We started because it's strategically smart. Think about who holds the keys to the 3 most important decisions a family will ever make now and for generations to come.
It's my wife.
Yeah.
Where are we going to live?
Where are you going to live?
Where are we send our kids to school?
Yeah.
And what are we having for dinner? No.
And who we socialize with.
Yeah, our friends.
socialize.
That's
Okay.
true, because I
Right.
don't have any, like, a guy's a guy, like, I don't invite people over.
Yeah.
She invites people over.
The school you pick for your kids is not just who your kids will be, it's who your grandchildren will be. Who you hang out with is who you become. Where you live, right? So you're in a different stage of life. Married, kids,
Yes.
dating, looking to get married,
Right.
okay? So this is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. Not only because of your life, because this is going to be the mother of your children, God willing. And the woman has huge influence on that. So that was the idea. It was a strategic decision, not just because we're women, but to focus in on women, and because of my decades of work in Jewish community work. Okay. So usually you walk into the room, not only the idea's already been decided, and they want your help, everybody kind of looks the same.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
kind of votes the same.
Yeah.
Everybody's Friday night kind of looks the same. This was a very different group.
Wow.
It was, in some ways, it would be easier if everybody was the same, because we agree, but it wouldn't become what it became.
I have a question to ask. Did you do that on purpose, or just happened to be that way? Like, did you say, I'm picking Minette, I'm picking this person, or was it because you really wanted the room to be different? Did it just turn out that way, or was it?
I would say it was half my thought
Right.
process, because I have been in many rooms,
Right.
and things start, and people have all these ideas, and it goes nowhere fast.
Right.
Part of it was that, and part of it was just, it was from God. It was from Hashem.
Wow.
Like somebody came to me, like one of the women who was part of the 8, she said, I'm doing work on campus, and I just feel like we need to start like a women's movement on campus. I go, I think you need to come to Utah with me. Okay? Like, seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sometimes those things happen, and, you know, after we met, and we walked through this process, and then we shared our values, and we found the congruence of our values. So even though we're all very different, we found the core values that we share, and we established, based on those values, what we called at the time the Jewish Women's Renaissance Project, which is now called Momentum. And only then did we brainstorm on what ideas could bring this to fruition. So
Okay.
first we agonized, probably for a day, the mission statement. What is
Wow.
this about? Before the project,
Wow.
the mission statement. And we agonized over every word. So we had a mission, vision, and purpose, and only then we started brainstorming. And this woman has this gorgeous place with these huge sticky notes on the wall, and like
Right.
everybody's writing down ideas. And then we advocated for the ideas we believed in. We probably came up with 100 ideas, and 3 or 4 rose to the top. This idea of taking women, like a birthright for women, like they're taking mothers out of their lives and bringing them to Israel for a transformational experience, and then bringing them back for a 1-year follow-up. This idea was one of them.
Back to Israel?
No,
Go
back
back
to
to their
their
home
homes.
communities.
Oh,
This
okay.
was one of 3 or 4 ideas, and this one took. And on the way home, we divided up. Okay, you take this one, you take this one, you take this one. We divided up 2, 2, and 2. Like, and then we said, like, so just start floating these ideas out. See if anything gets traction. This one took off like a rocket.
Wow.
I have never been involved in anything that was like, people are like, You're right. It's the mother. Where have we been?
Yeah.
So everybody knows that coming to Israel, to a Jewish immersive experience in Israel is transformational. But the idea is to do it strategically. So right from the beginning, we decided we're going to do this in partnership. Unfortunately, most Jewish organizations in cities look at other Jewish organizations in their city as, you're my competition.
Yes.
They're not your competition. They're your partner. They just don't know it yet. Under the umbrella of the Jewish mother, we've been able to bring organizations that normally do not work together to play in the same sandbox. It was not easy. We're turning a battleship because bracha, blessing, comes when there's achdut, when there's unity.
Wow.
Blessing comes with unity. And one of our goals, we have 4 goals. One of them is to foster achdut velo achidut, unity without uniformity. People think unity means we all have to vote the same, we all have to observe the same, we all have to. No.
Right. And
When
you were built on that.
100%. From the beginning, the founders, our staff,
Right.
our board, and in the values that we teach. Because I'm telling you, like, I don't know, like my kids are very different, right? You know
Yes,
my kids?
yes.
Okay, very different. I have 5 kids. Politically, religiously, geographically, personality, they love each other. They have each other's back. And when they're like that, my husband and I, we'll give them the world.
There's like nothing better.
There
when
is
your kids-
nothing-
nothing better in
what a
life
pleasure.
when your kids are nice to each other and take care of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're not going to be around forever. Really, your sibling, like that's the relationship you have longer than any other relationship of your life.
Wow, that's totally true.
So you want to create an atmosphere in the home where even though they're not the same, that they love each other and they care about each other. They're a family. And that's the Jewish people. That's the
Right.
Jewish people. You know, when Whoopi Goldberg said you know, that she got into a lot of trouble because she said that we're not a race,
Yeah.
she was right. We're not a race. Okay? We come in all shades and colors. Okay, come to Israel, you'll see. We're not a race. We're not a religion. We're not a religion. We do religious things, but we're not a religion. My husband, he's a rabbi, keeps kosher, keeps Shabbat. He has a friend, drives on Shabbat, doesn't keep kosher. He's just as Jewish as my husband, the rabbi. We're not a
Yeah.
religion. And are we a nation? I don't know. You have to have a shared
Shared language,
land.
shared land.
No,
Well, we-
that's really culture. But a nation, you really, you have a shared land. So you could say, oh, it's Israel, but like how many people are Israeli? How many
No.
people are going
No
to live
one.
here? Okay?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
we just recently became more than half of the
Yes.
Jews in the world are in Israel.
Oh, and then I love it when people say, "Oh, I'm not religious, but I'm culturally Jewish."
That's my favorite,
I'm
culture.
Really, you're culturally
I would
Jewish.
say, when do they have lox and bagels in Yemen?
Yeah. So what defines a culture? If you study cultures, language, music, food, dress. What do you have in common with an Ethiopian Jew, an Israeli Jew, a Russian Jew? Nothing.
thing, Torah,
So when
that's it.
people say I'm culturally Jewish, it means I'm American Jew-ish. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
Wow.
like hyphen-ish. So what are we? We're a family. We're a highly dysfunctional family.
Highly dysfunctional
Yes.
family.
Like I said, it
Right.
does feel like being in Israel. It does feel like family.
Yeah.
Everyone on the bus, everyone.
They'll tell you how to raise your kids.
They say yeah. It is really unbelievable. I can,
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You really feel it here. You really feel it, and people care, and because they care, it's a very explosive, a country. We have 1 million political parties. Okay, the United States has 2. We have 1 million because everybody has an opinion. Because everybody cares. I always joke if they're going to do a survey, okay, in your neighborhood, we're going to repave the sidewalks, and we're going to do a survey. Yes, no, no opinion. Okay, so then they get the data back.
Yeah.
Some people say yes, some people say no, some people say no opinion. Where are the Jews?
25 opinions.
No, it's either yes or no. They're not in no opinion.
no way.
Okay? They're
No,
either,
it's
they
different
either said yes
opinions.
or no. Nobody said, I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay? We have opinions because we care. We are driven. We know we're here for a purpose. We know we're here. We have a responsibility. We know that we're here to make God's world better, and we need to be a light. We need to be an example to the world. And we've kind of lost our way.
Right. So this is what you went into the trip with and came out with a solution for.
Yeah, so we went away to Utah to come up with an idea. What's the home run idea? Because my husband and I, thank God, we've been blessed. We've been successful in our Jewish communal work. And I think, I'm not going to say we're the best, but we're right up there. And our rabbi was like, okay, you got on base. You built a 24,000 square foot center in Toronto and changed Jewish Toronto in that area of Toronto. You got on base. First base, second, you're on base. Where's the home run? where's the home run? He goes, make 100 of these. Now we're talking, okay?
Right.
So when we went away, it was really our rabbi was dying. Like he was at the end of his life. And I was like, where's the home run? Where's the home run? Now, I have to tell you, I take no credit for the fact that I zeroed in on Jewish women. Because the Torah teaches us, in the merit of the Jewish women, we were redeemed from Egypt. And the ultimate destiny of the Jewish people will also be in the merit of the Jewish women. And you know, as we spoke at the beginning, like, it's the woman, it's the mom, it's like,
They
hello.
saved the Jewish people so many times in the Torah.
Time and time again. We love you guys, we love you so much, we marry you, but
We were the ones making the mistakes.
listen, it's not like the women are perfect, but as they said in my big fat Greek wedding, okay, remember the mother says to the daughter, don't worry, your father, he is the head of the house, but I'm the neck, okay, right? The man is the head and the woman's the neck. The woman can turn you this way or that way. That's why who you marry is the most important decision you'll ever make, because she will lead you this way or that way. What's important to her? What does she get pleasure from? And listen, it's that's a whole different talk.
Yeah, but did you ever imagine it would be like, let's count numbers. Before Corona, I believe you brought like 3,500 women like 1 year?
Yeah. So at our peak, we were bringing over 3,000 participants a year. We are bringing mostly women, but now we're doing trips for husbands because the women want something for their husbands. So we have now brought, like the first year we brought 300 women, then we brought 600, then we brought 900. Then Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs called us.
Yeah.
Like we'd sit around and go, do you think the Israeli government would ever fund us like they do like Taglit birthright? And people were like, they'll never fund you. You're too this, you're not enough that. You see, God runs the world. So the ministry called us. Who are you? We heard about you. We'd like to talk to you. So I went into the Israeli Ministry of Diaspora Affairs with my data, because we're very data-driven, with my data, with my annual report, and I said, let's be partners. Let's go 50-50. Then I go, hold on. Anyway, so after a series of meetings, and they sent somebody to check us out, they said, double your numbers, get into Eastern Europe, and we'll help back you. So I flew to Hungary, and I flew to Poland, and I flew to Moscow, and I flew to St. Petersburg, and we doubled our numbers, and we got into Eastern Europe, and we've now brought over 22,000 women from 35 countries, and everything was done in partnership. So we partner with over 300 organizations around the world. We don't look at the women as our customers. We look at the organizations. We want to help you go from good to great. Some of them are on life support. Some of them are doing good work. We don't have time for good. We have to be great. So this helps them fast forward everything they do. We have to do better work faster. And if you go to any of the conferences out there, any of the Jewish conferences, Israel diaspora divide, right? How do we bridge the Israel diaspora divide? So we actually do it by not only bringing women to Israel. Over half have never even been here.
Wow.
But we put 4 Israeli mothers on every bus. You know how Taglit birthright, they put the soldiers on the buses? Not only for the American kids to have that experience, it changes the soldiers. So the Israelis come on. Somebody gave me great advice when we started. They go, Israelis are like pepper. You must sprinkle them around. If you concentrate them, they will turn on you. Okay? So we don't do a bus of Israelis. We put 4 Israeli mothers on every bus. We've now brought over 600 Israeli Jewish mothers. And it is a game changer on both sides, I'm telling you, because people feel I'm part of a people. Like they feel this sense of family. They feel this, like, because we all share the same values. And we teach the values that unite us and not what divide us. We always focus on what unites us and not what divides us. So it's really been a ride. And during COVID, we exploded online. Instead of impacting 3,000 women a year, we were doing 3,000 a day. Podcasts, webinars, amazing stuff happened. And I believe the first 13 years, like our first group came in 2009, so it's been 13 years. I believe that was the pilot. And I believe that God is setting up the world for our finest hour. Our goal is to double our numbers in the next 3 years. Why?
Really?
Imagine, think about the environment right now. So there's a pent-up desire to travel, because people can travel for 2 years.
Right.
When Israel, it was a reverse psychology that Hashem did. Israel said, you can't come. Now people want to come. Also, Pew did a report on America and the pandemic. And what did they come out with? There's an exponential rise in people's desire for family, community, and people's openness to spirituality. So if you add all of these things up, it equals momentum, okay? Really. And just like after 9/11, there was a window where we're united and the America and we're all in this together. That lasted 5 minutes. I believe that this window will close also. So we have probably 3 years to get, while we have people's attention. And people not only want to do travel, they want to do meaningful travel. People were thinking in a deep way. God put us all in timeout. Why do you put your kids in timeout?
Because they did something wrong.
Right. They were not acting at their best. All right. And now they're sitting on the stair, right? And you tell them, okay, now
we don't do that.
Oh, you don't do that?
No,
What do you guys do?
We don't. My kids are perfect. No. No, I don't. We don't. I don't really do much. I mean, I don't. My kids are pretty good.
You have great kids.
Yeah.
So most times, if your kids makes a mistake, whatever, you have to do some sort of consequence, okay? Whether, remember we were little, you stand in the corner, or like our, father gave us the strap or something, okay? So, or my brothers anyway. So usually you put your kid in timeout because they weren't acting at their best. And then they come out, like Sarah Hannah Ratcliffe, she's a psychologist in Toronto. She says the timeout should be 1 minute for every age, like for the kid's age.
Yeah.
So they're 2 years old, they have to sit there for 2 minutes. Three, got
that's
it?
Like a night. That's like a lifetime.
Yeah. So then they come out, and then, of course, why were they there? Because they took their toy truck and they smacked it over their sister's head,
right.
okay? So now you take them off, and you tell them, tell your sister you're...
Sorry.
Sorry. And what do they say?
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then the kid who was hit was like, that wasn't a real sorry. So we cannot come out and say, sorry. That wasn't a real sorry. So obviously we were all put in timeout. God put the whole world in timeout because obviously we weren't acting at our best. And the mistake I believe that some of us are making now, I just want to go back to the way it was. I want it to be normal. Oh, things are the way it... If we go back to the way it was, this was for nothing. We have to emerge as better people committed to making a better world.
Wow.
I have a line that I use very commonly in my classes. It's our job to change the world, not let the world change us. Because we do let things around us change our attitudes and things, and we tend to, as we see, values in the world have completely gone downhill. And so everyone's values seem to go downhill. And I think what you're doing is amazing to help people keep aligned on what their values should be, their core values.
Everybody sort of has a bar. You set a bar for your kids, like what's right and wrong, what you can do, what you can't do. Yeah. Everybody falls below the bar. But if you keep lowering the bar, then they go lower as well. Right. So, you set a high bar, but okay, everybody makes mistakes. And today, in some societies, I feel like there's no bar. There's not even a bar.
There is a bar.
It's like whatever it is, whatever goes, whatever. It's a little bit scary. And I think a bar gives you security. There's a sense of security. We lived in Toronto for many years. I'm from Toronto. And the first 13 years of our marriage, we were in Toronto. All my kids were born there. And I remember we lived on a street where it was a Jewish neighborhood, but not religious. And down the street was, kids were playing on the street. I met this other couple. He was a child psychiatrist. So, of course, we invited them for Shabbat. They came over Friday night, and my kids were little. So he's a child psychiatrist. Every time my kid did something, I'm like, is that normal? Is that normal? Okay, is that normal? And so my husband asked him, he goes, what drives a kid to have to go to a psychiatrist? A kid. He said there are many factors, but I'll tell you the number one factor. What do you think it is?
The number one factor why kids psychologist? I have no
Psychiatrist.
idea. Psychiatrist.
I was going to say depression, but just feeling left out.
Fear? I don't know.
He says the number one thing that creates an environment that a kid would have to go to a psychiatrist, he goes, there's no rules.
No rules.
No consequences.
Right.
So you think, I can stay up as late as I want, I can eat chocolate I could do whatever I want. You think that's the greatest life ever? What does the kid feel like? You don't care. There's no boundaries. There's no rules. So you think like all these rules, like, you see in Judaism, like, we'll just we keep taking away like, the rules, the do's and the don'ts, instead of 10 commandments, 10 suggestions, as they joke.
Right.
It's like, you think that's going to be better. It actually destroyed us. Like the Jewish people got weaker, not stronger.
Not a great analogy, but like my dogs love crates because they feel like
secure.
They feel secure in a crate. They love them. You would think they feel like, oh, I'm in jail, but no, they want to feel secure.
It says at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, it says the Jewish people, we took on the yoke of the Torah. Do you know what a yoke is?
Yes, you put a cow or ox into it.
You take an ox and you put this wood thing. Okay. We took on the yoke of the Torah. That doesn't sound like fun.
Right.
So imagine we were farmers and you had a bull, and it's this wild bull. It tramples, it kills your other animals.
Ruins of grass,
exactly.
no grass left. The whole thing's destroyed.
Now you put the yoke on it, and then now it's a productive member of the farm.
It reaches potential.
And it knows when it's going to eat, and it feels. So you think that boundaries and rules and all these things are like you're walking into marriage, okay? It sounds like, okay, like this is like you can't just do whatever you want anymore, okay? You can't just be spontaneous. And then once you have kids too, it's like a whole different ballgame. So you might, and beware of, oh, you remember when I was single and I could just. So the Jewish people, when we went into when we were in the desert, now we're not slaves anymore, okay? We're free. And what did we say to Moses, to Moshe Rabbeinu?
We remember the free fish we had.
Yeah, you had to bring us out here to die. Remember back in Egypt when the fish was free. And Rashi, the foremost commentator of the Torah, was like, when the fish was free, they were saying a life where I didn't have responsibility. Mm-hmm. So you think a life without responsibility, that's the great life? No, this is the good life, responsibility. And it used to be that when you said a man is responsible, responsibility, commitment, those were good words. Now, who wants
it's a negative
commitment?
word.
Who
People don't
wants
like the word. They don't like the word
responsibility.
responsibility. They don't like the word responsibility.
Or commitment. Who wants to make a commitment? So it's, you see, like we have a lot of work to do.
On that note, I'm really curious how you've seen the landscape in America. Let's start with America, but you've been involved with the whole world. How has it changed over the last period of time since you've been operating Momentum, and specifically how has COVID sped up the process, and does the future is the future moving online?
Is the future moving on? I think
That's a different
actually,
question.
I think that there is a backlash to it. So there is, you remember speed dating? Like, remember the concept of speed dating?
Yes,
Where
yes.
you meet in a coffee house or a bar,
20 people
and you
in
get
like 20
seven.
minutes.
No,
Yeah.
you get seven dates, 7 minutes. Okay, so there's a rabbi we know invented speed dating. And Rabbi Deo in Los Angeles many years ago, and it really became like a thing in
took
the
off.
world.
And
Totally
the
took
whole
off.
non-Jewish world
The
too.
whole idea was to get Jews to meet Jews. Okay, so now a lot of the ethnic groups have their own speed dating things. So then it's like, oh, who does this? Who meets in person anymore? So everything's online. It used to be that, one of my get to know you questions at my Shabbat table is we have a couple there. We'll ask like, how did you meet? And maybe we did that when you guys first came over.
Probably, yeah.
How did you meet? Why do I ask them that? First, you get to know them.
Right.
Oh, I was in this college and she was in this college and this happened. And then they also like look kind of gushy to each other, like, like they remember how they met. Okay, it's a good thing. Okay, except the one time when I said, "How did you meet?" and they're like, "At drug rehab."
Oh,
I'm like,
Wow.
"Grape juice." Okay, so, where was I going? What was the question? I forgot.
there was 2 questions really. How has the landscape changed, and online?
Oh, the online thing. So it used to be, not a month would go by, they didn't say, oh, we met on J-Date. Now, at the beginning, they were kind of like embarrassed. Oh, we met on J-Date.
Because
We met
new.
online.
Yeah.
Because it was new and it was kind of like kind of lame, like that you met online. Now, it's like, it's lame if you meet in person. Like, everything's online, everything's live, swipe, and you
Right.
see what's happened. So now there's a backlash. And ever since COVID, so now there's a new thing. Look in the New York Times. They're renting out bars and they're having like in person, like you actually meet people again. And the idea of meeting in person, like is a huge difference when you're in front of somebody. So I think there should be a combination of it. So how are things changed? Things have changed. And that's why in Jewish communal work, we have to change. People are like, oh, like kids today, you can't get their attention. They have no attention. Okay,
Just
first of all,
write it
kids
off.
today are like super smart and they're super sharp and they can do a lot of things we can't do. And don't wait for them to change. You have to change.
with them.
You have to change the way you're presenting wisdom. The wisdom is eternal wisdom.
Right.
But you have to change the way you're presenting it and how you present it. That's okay. But stop doing this. Turn it around and you have to change. So there are things that, it's the same wisdom. You just have to package it and word it. And I was helping Daniel the other day. Like there's certain things that you just can't say anymore and certain things you should say. And at the beginning, he had the same reaction I did. Like, why can't I say that? Like just because, you know what? It's the same wisdom. You just have to present it in a way that they can hear it. And sometimes the way you word it and the words you use, make a difference.
It makes a lot of sense as things change.
But
the
you have to be so
lexicon changes.
nuanced to like be up on top of everything about what you can say.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I walk the line between wanting to know what the trends are and everything, and
Right.
yet like protecting myself from some of like things that are like really like can be horrific. So you have to be. Listen, that's why you have kids, right? Your kids will tell you like, oh, Ima, like that doesn't. Now we're doing this. So you have to be in the know. But again, we have the greatest product in the world. The Torah, the the book of instructions. It's bursting with wisdom for every aspect of our life. It's the greatest product in the world. We just happen to sell it very badly.
Yeah.
So I went to Hebrew school, and we
That's
called
true.
it Jew jail. Like
Yeah,
it was
it
a
was Jew jail.
sentence, okay?
Right.
We all grew up this way. So when you present it in a way that people can hear it, it changes their lives. How to pick the right person. Yeah, you came over, I said, like, these are the 3 questions you have to answer yes to know it's the right person. Okay, I didn't
Right.
make this up. This is from the Torah. So how do you know it's the right person? How do you when I remember when our son Moshe was dating, he went out with the girl he went out with first was the girl he ended up marrying. It's
Yeah.
very unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, usually like you date this person, that person, like you're going through it. So when he was dating her after a few dates, I said, so Moshe, like, what do you think? He goes, well, I really like her. I go, well, do you think you want to marry her? He goes, I don't know. Maybe I just like girls. How do you know? So he went to his rabbi. His rabbi opened the Gemara, like this, and this. Like, that's how you know.
Right. Do you mind sharing those 3 questions?
Oh, you want to go there?
That seems.
You just want to review?
Also to review.
For Daniel, I just want to say for those of you who are married out there, so for those of you who are single, these are the 3 questions you have to answer yes to know what's the right person. For those of you who are married, even the cameraman's listening. So that's when I get everybody's attention. So for those of us who are married, these are the 3 areas you have to put a lot of time and effort into. Okay? So if you're married and you answer no to one of these questions, do not go home and tell Alana, like, that's it, Lori told me. Okay?
I got to tell you.
No.
When I started giving classes at HBO Torah in the Essentials program, I was giving dating and marriage classes, and then I went to one of your classes with your husband when you were doing a momentum trip, and that's what triggered me to start writing my books. And it's really, I got to tell you, it's been such an amazing thing for my marriage to write books, which is a lot of the wisdom I got from you and from the Torah and from other rabbis and things like that. But it's a game changer. It's like we live in like this. Not only do we live, high up in Jerusalem, we feel like we live in the clouds in our marriage. It's really unbelievable.
You can't teach this wisdom and not live it. If you're not living it, people pick up on it. Like you're just talking, okay?
Right.
And every time I always say, I'm teaching this for me. You get to listen, okay? This is really for me. And when my husband and I go, and we're actually Thursday night, we're going to be going to Herzliya, and we're going to be talking to couples, Israeli couples, because about marriage. And on the way, whenever we do this, I always say to my husband, the most important thing is that we look happily married, okay? The worst thing is to have a fight on the way to a marriage class. That's not good. So 3 questions.
Right.
Ready?
Now that everyone is, you built up how
All right, the 3 questions
is.
you have to answer yes to,
Right.
okay? And for us, it's the 3 areas you have to put a lot of time and effort into. Okay. Cameraman, are you listening? Great. Number 1, do you have the same meaningful life goals and values? Do you have the same meaningful life goals and values? Because certain things are going to be, like my daily goals are very different than my husband's, but my deep life goals, we're in sync with that.
What is an example of a life? What are some of examples of the values and life goals that you should?
Okay,
because a lot of values, a lot of people say, oh, it's good to be giving, and
Right, but when I'm meaning life goals, it means that not just do I want to have children, what values do I want to give my children? So that means like you should be talking now, like what kind of school? You think like you're dating somebody now, right?
right.
Spoiler alert, okay? And so there comes a point where you should talk about, not now yet, because you're still at beginning stages, but there comes a point where you really have to talk about, it's called hashkafa, which is like really like where are you at in terms of what community do you align yourself with, what kind of schools do you want to send your kids to? So people make the mistake and think like, oh, love conquers all, we'll figure it out. Love doesn't
Does not
conquer
work.
all, okay?
Okay.
Love does not conquer all. Like the last thing you want to do is be in a battle in the home front. Marriage is hard enough. You should be on the same page in terms of the kind of home, not just what my home looks like, what does it feel like? Like Daniel loves having guests. If Alana didn't want to have guests, it would be painful for him. It would be a problem in their marriage.
Right. Yeah.
This is a big part of their life.
We challenge it. And
Right,
I have to challenge
right.
it because I would have 150 guests every single week, and my wife she likes guests, but like it's a limit. So we have to limit it, and we just talk about it. It's like I've turned this guy down, that guy down, because we have 5 guests, and that's enough. So it is a thing we
Right.
work on.
But you really, it's something that you really, people always say that, compromise, okay? Marriage is compromise. So Rabbi Steve Bars always says, compromise is the worst thing, because I wanted this thing, and you wanted this thing. So we're going to compromise. Neither of us are happy.
Right.
Like, somebody should be happy, and the next time I'll be happy, okay?
Right.
Like,
It's give and take.
Give and take.
Yeah.
But compromise means we both didn't get what we wanted.
Right.
Yay! Okay. So
There's
somebody
so much
ca-
to
so-
say about compromise and
yeah,
how
but
you deal with that.
somebody came up to me after my dating workshop, and she said, "I don't know if the guy I'm going out with has the same meaningful life goals and values that I have, because I don't know what my meaningful goals and
But there you have a
values
problem
are."
already.
It starts with you. Until you know who you are and where you're going, you don't know who to go to with.
Right.
Because if you don't know who you are and where you're going, why would God bring you the right person? You'd pass them by because you don't even know. So it starts with you.
Right.
Number 2, are you physically attracted to each other? The Talmud says you can't marry somebody unless you're physically attracted. Now, when does a guy know if he's attracted?
Guys are usually quicker, maybe.
In the first
Like,
3
usually pretty
seconds,
quick.
okay? Like in the first 3 seconds, you could, she's pretty, she's not pretty. Like you're attracted, you're not attracted. For a
Right.
woman, it's a little bit different. For a man, it's I'm going to generalize now. Generalize means there are exceptions.
Yes,
okay.
In general, for a man, it's very much in terms of physical attraction, outside in.
Okay.
And for a woman, it's very much inside out.
Mhm.
So the example I give is like, imagine like I'm with a friend and I'm single. I'm with a friend and I see a guy across the room. I'm at some social function and he's hot, okay? Which is a very regional term because I speak all over the world. If you
Okay.
say in England he's hot, they turn up the air conditioner, okay?
Oh, no.
So in England, they say he's fit.
Oh,
Okay. I think in Costa Rica they say he's guapo. Okay,
Wow.
like in Brazil they say he's a cat. Okay, it's very regional, so you should know your terms before you speak in these places. I once spoke to a deaf audience, and he's this. Okay, that's hot.
Right.
Okay, so so imagine I see him across the room and he's hot, and then my friend who sees me looking at him says, "He's hot, isn't he?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's so hot." She goes, "He's my cousin. Want to meet him?" I'm like, "Totally." Okay, so now I'm going over, like, no, I can't. Oh, no. Okay. So then I get there, my heart's beating on my chest. Okay, I have no saliva. She introduces me to her cousin. She slips away. Now I'm talking to him.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
A few minutes in, I realize, porch lights on, nobody's home. Somebody said, "Body by Nautilus, brains by Fisher-Price." Got it? Okay.
Right.
So for a woman, in general, she's not even attracted to him anymore.
No.
It's like the guy's an idiot. Now, for a guy, he goes across the room, she's hot, he's talking to her, does not, like, he still wants to sleep with her, okay?
Right.
It's different. Men and women are different. In general, there are exceptions.
Right.
So the Torah says that, the Talmud says that you must be attracted to her, and you have to be attracted to each other. So for a guy, he sees, like, really, it's 2 seconds. He may not know, do we have the same goals and values, but he definitely knows pretty early on, am I attracted to her or not? And for a girl, it sometimes takes time, okay?
Right.
Like my husband's not exactly Rabbi GQ, okay? But the more I got to know him, the more attracted I became because of his depth and his sensitivity. And they was like, "Oh, look how he smiles." And do you hear? So
Right.
it's actually better in this way. Why? Because I hate to break the news to you. So first of all, how do you, Brandon, how do you look on a date?
This,
Good.
like this, as well as I can.
Yeah, you look good. And how does she look on a date?
As well as she can.
Right. And how does she act? Do you think she's primping and like thinking about what she's going to wear? And yes, she
Yes.
is. Okay.
Right.
And how do you act on a date?
You're on your best behavior.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Get it? Okay. This doesn't last. Okay.
Right.
People get fat and people get old and people get pregnant. People wake up without their makeup on and people leave the toilet seat up and people leave their socks on the floor. Okay. It's not always so great. And okay.
Yeah.
So there better be a lot going on inside to keep that attraction strong. And that's
Right.
something you have to also work on in a marriage. And the Torah gives us a system of on again, off again in terms of physicality that helps, but see your local rabbi for that. Okay, third question.
I want to emphasize one thing that I've just recently become aware of is the use of the word attractive. Do you find the person attractive instead of do you find the person pretty or handsome? Because, well, what I was told recently was if someone asked me, do you find her pretty? It means like you have to objectify that beauty. But if it's attractive, it's something that's based on your own perspective.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So that's
Are
a
you
huge
attracted
difference.
to her? Like, do you feel this like
Right.
there's something?
Not is she pretty? That's so general.
Well, again, and also beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Exactly.
You know?
And-
And
yeah.
people have a certain type. I remember, like, I always tell a guy, like, sometimes I'm like, okay, what are you looking for? And he's telling me, then he's like kind of embarrassed, like, you know what, I really want her to be pretty. Of course. And I'm like, of course. Like, you should not marry someone unless you're attracted. So I said, like, and he goes, well, I have a certain type. So I take it with a grain of salt. One guy
Right.
told me, I'm only attracted to olive-skinned, very thin girls, and with no baggage whatsoever. I don't want anybody with a baggage. Okay, so what did he marry? A not thin, blonde, okay, convert who used to be a nun, okay? Like, talk about
Wow.
baggage, all right? So I take this with a grain of salt, but I'm not here to tell somebody what they're attracted to, but it's like, okay. Third question? Okay. Third question is different for a guy than for a girl. For a girl, without the guy in the room, okay? First question, same meaningful life goals and values, yes. Are you attracted to each other? Yes. So that without him in the room, I look her in the eye and I ask her, do you respect him? And if she says yes, without blinking, without looking away, without hesitating, this is it. But if she says, yeah, I worry. Or if she says yes and she looks away. I had a girl come to me, and a woman came to me in Denver. She goes, is this the one? Because this is the biggest decision of your life. Is this the one? Is this the one? I go, okay. Same way if I goes, yes. Physically attracted? Yes. I go, do you respect him? She goes, yes. And she glanced
Wow.
away. She
Yeah.
glanced
Oh,
away.
man.
I go, you looked away. She goes, no, I didn't, because they don't even know.
No, you don't.
Right.
Okay? Now, I don't have my doctorate in behavioral science, but if I ask you a question and you look away when you answer, there's a good chance you're lying. So I probed, and there was something about him she really didn't respect. She married him anyway, and a year later she divorced him.
Oh.
Ooh.
Because it's a very, 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 very big deal for a man. He could be the CEO of a corporation, people are bowing down to him all day long, but if
Right.
he comes home and his wife doesn't respect him, this is not good. This is not good. Okay. So what do we ask because what does a man need? He needs to be respected. So what does a woman need? So what do we ask the guy? First question, goals, attracted. Without her in the room,
Right.
we ask him, will you be happy making her happy for the rest of your life? Because what does a woman need? A woman needs to be loved. If a man, I want to be respected too, but I need to be loved. If a man says, if my husband said to me, I don't love you, but I really respect you,
Forget
this
about
is
it.
not happening,
Yeah.
okay? And if I said to the guy, like if I said to my husband, I really love you, I just don't respect you, this is not good, okay?
Right.
So a man wants to be loved, but needs to be respected in general, and there's exceptions, and a woman wants to be respected, but needs to be loved. So not only do we ask the guy, will you make her happy, happy wife, happy life, will you get pleasure making her happy? Will you get pleasure making her happy? Nothing makes my husband happier than when I'm happy, okay? So that's, but will you take pleasure in making her happy? If Alana's happy, are you happy?
I'm so thrilled.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Alana's really happy, are you happy?
I'm on the cloud nine. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, that's it. So those are the three questions. And if you answer no to one of those questions when you're dating, it's not it. It's not it. And in marriage, these are the three areas we have to pour a lot of time and effort into.
And also,
Really
from
good.
my experience, is that sometimes the more you get to know someone and the more emotional attachment you have to them, the better looking they get, which we've discussed before. So, like, they can get better and better looking as time goes on.
So I'm curious now. This is not for me yet, but for a couple who's already married, how do you work on seeing the attractiveness?
So first
Like
of all,
what- like if I don't know, assuming that may be a challenge in some relationships.
so the mistake sometimes we make when I was talking about dating, like you're
Right.
at your best, okay?
Yeah,
So
it's
you
easy.
shouldn't take it for granted in marriage.
Right.
You shouldn't. The bathroom door should not be open when you're going to the bathroom, okay? There should be a certain sense of mystery. There should be a certain sense of I'm at my best. You shouldn't just make any noise in front of, like, you really should. Like, we should only take a little bit of what we did in dating, okay, and bring it into our marriage. And again, the Torah creates a system where it's sort of like you're with each other in terms of intimacy half the month on and half the month off. It has to do with the mikvah. And that creates a buildup of desire for each other. So you have that system. And you're supposed to be putting your best foot forward. Like,
Right.
I really like, I don't know. It's like, why am I getting dressed for strangers when I go out? Like, I wanted my husband to see me, at my best as well.
Most women,
Right.
most women dress for other women.
Yeah, according to the studies,
Yeah. That's
when women
interesting.
go
Yeah.
out, they're actually dressing for other women.
Yeah.
Wow.
When a
Really-
woman walks into the room, it's the other women who are checking her out.
Not their husband.
No, it's the other women checking her out. Like, how do I look? Am I thinner? Am I like, do we wear the same
Women
thing?
look
And like,
at
this
each
other.
is-
Yeah, I mean,
totally,
But
totally.
they should be
Believe
dressing
it.
for their husbands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so what happens is when we go up, we dress up, and when we go out, we dress up, and when we come home, we dress down. And you see, like, you need to bring it up at home.
It makes a lot of sense. It's great.
It's not
advice.
easy to do.
Right.
It's not easy to do. Like, wait till the kids are crying, and I was up all night. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
there's
not
always
simple.
a few years, like, when we went with us, we had 5 kids in a short amount of time.
crazy time.
And there was a few years.
It's
where,
like a blur.
You just went. I can't even remember it.
It's a blur.
It is really just a blur.
Now that we see our grandchildren, I say to my husband, like we just had our granddaughter visiting and my daughter and her husband, and I said to my husband, do you remember it being like this? He's like, I have no memory of this. Okay, my husband always says that God gives you amnesia, so you'll do it again. Okay, but really, it's a little bit of a blur, but it's amazing. Like you're in it together, and marriage in Judaism, marriage is not a partnership. A partnership is, I've got, like we're going to go business partnership, okay? You have an idea, you have know-how, you have capital, okay?
Right.
You make a partnership. Now, after a while, you've got some
I don't need you
capital,
anymore.
and you have the
Right.
know-how, and I'm not getting what I want out of it, you're not getting what, so we dissolve the partnership. How many people are not speaking to their ex-business partners?
Most of them.
Marriage is not a
Most,
partnership.
yeah.
Marriage is, according to Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, marriage is a merger. What's a merger? Merger is not my thing or your thing. It's our thing. We're in this together. Sometimes, like for the first many years of our marriage, my husband was out there, and I was on the home front. Now I'm more out there, and my husband's more on the home front. We're in this together. Sometimes he's better with that kid. Sometimes I'm better with that kid. It's like tag team. Okay, so we're in this together. And when you're in together, it's not. There's no. I'm not dissolving a merger. We're one. Like where do I begin and you end? Okay,
Right.
we're one.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
You know, I've heard you speak many, many times, and I've written books on a lot of what you've taught me, and I've learned from my own experiences. You know, I did date a long time, so I have a lot of wisdom from that. But I keep learning more from you. It just doesn't stop. It's like the flow of water,
thank
of
you.
wisdom just keeps flowing and flowing and flowing.
I love it, and you make it your own, and you disseminate it in your way, and like this podcast, and
Yes.
it's like it's
You know, you mentioned
amazing.
how do you keep the love in a relationship, and it takes work. Love is not. It's just not going to be there. It just don't expect it. We're in love now. We're going to be in love in 10 years. No, it's constant work, and that's what romance is. Romance is taking the lust, desire, infatuation, and turning that into love. And that's the things you do on a daily basis, like writing little notes, words of affection, touching, rubbing, hug, things like that. That needs constant attention.
marriage is a lot of work,
Yeah.
but it's so worth it.
Yeah,
It's really worth it.
yeah. You're going to get a lot of pleasure out of it.
It's the best. We can't wait to be at your chuppah. Come on, let's go. Just marry the right
When
person.
the time is
Yeah.
right. When the time is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I'm curious because you are doing so many things. You're involved. Well, you tell us. Like, how do you manage your time when you have momentum to be fundraising for, and what is your involvement on a day-to-day?
I want to expand
Yeah.
on your question. Is that I believe that you work in 2 time zones.
Yeah.
Like, not many people work in one time zone and work in a separate time zone, which is 7 hours
It's a
difference.
little bit
Pretending
crazy.
it's only 2, but America's 4 time zones.
Yeah, so no, after I moved to Israel, I work 2 time zones because I wake up
Right.
and America is now asleep, but a whole bunch of things happen while I was sleeping. So I
Right.
deal with that, and I deal with things in Israel. And then when Israel is starting to wind down, so America is waking up, and that goes on till for many hours ahead. So I do work 2 time zones. I thank God I love my work. I love it. It's not work. It's like this is my passion. This is my raison d'etre. I wake up every day and I feel like I'm living my purpose, which is an amazing feeling. Amazing feeling. It's a lot of work.
And that
So at
could
the
be the
beginning
key.
with Momentum, I basically did everything except drive the bus. Okay, like it was like I really did. I was the bus leader and the trip leader and the
Yeah.
fundraiser and it's like and the main educator. I did everything. And if they would have taught me how to drive the bus, I probably would have driven the
Yeah.
bus. But now I hardly appear on any of the trips. Like I appear, but I don't. I maybe lead 1 trip a year, and that is really my pleasure because we're trying to create a movement, and a movement cannot be dependent upon one person. So we now have over 50 people, 50, who work for us full time. Can you believe it? 50 people work for us full time. During COVID, we were hiring, okay, because we exploded online, and I do a lot of what I do is I'm very much the public face of Momentum, a lot of that, like at conferences and things like that, dealing with the Israeli government a little bit. But I also, it's a free trip, not including airfare. And this year we have an $18.5 million budget. I don't even like to say the numbers. And so a lot of what I do is to raise the money to make it happen. And it really is my pleasure also. I always say the first 3 letters of fundraising are fun, but sometimes it's not always fun.
Yeah.
But I meet the most amazing people, I can't even tell you, the most amazing people I've met, people who invest, and the ROI of this is very high because if you invest in a Jewish mother, you've invested in a family now and for generations. And, and our data shows like we're moving the dial, like we're moving the needle in the right direction, thank God. So I love what I do. When I was younger, it's so funny. When people ask you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You remember, like when you were a kid?
I wanted to be an attorney.
What did you want to be?
An attorney. My dad was a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer.
You want to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So at one point, the first thing I remember wanting to be is a stewardess. Why? Because I wanted to travel. Like I used to get the planes. I'd go to the airport to meet somebody, and I hear all these countries. I wanted to travel. Number two, then I wanted to be an actress.
Yes.
Okay. Then I wanted to be a lawyer. And then somebody said, would you defend somebody who you knew was guilty? I'm like, no. They go, then you can't be a lawyer. And that was that.
Yeah,
Okay, because why do I want to be a lawyer? I wanted to help people.
Right.
Okay. So interestingly, I never in a million years would thought that I was going to grow up, become more observant, live in Israel, marry a rabbi, and run this international nonprofit. Like, what? But really, God made all my dreams come true, just not in the way I thought. What did I want to be? A stewardess because I wanted to see the world. I'm like travel all over the world. I wanted to be an actress. I get up on the stage,
all the time.
okay, and perform like
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
And I wanted to help people. That's why I wanted to be a lawyer. And I get to help people all the time.
And you don't have to defend the guilty.
Yeah, the guilty, unless it's my kid.
You're not charging $1,000 an hour either.
Right. And when I thought about it, it was like we all goals are dreams with a deadline. Goals are dreams with a deadline. So it starts with the dream. So you have to, and the Jewish people were dreamers, right? We're dreamers. Right. And we can't stop dreaming. So you have a dream. And so I had dreams. I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that. But if you drill down, like, why did I want to be that? Okay? Like, why did I want to? And then you have to be open to the platform that God is going to realize your dreams. It may not be in the way that you thought. So the best advice I got when I started Momentum, we talk about moments before. We were talking about significant moments in life. Sometimes you have such a significant conversation, you remember where you were.
Yes.
Like you could almost
Right.
you could feel it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you could taste it,
Definitely.
you could smell it, okay? Like you're back in that moment. I just gotten back from Utah. I'm in Rockville, Maryland. I just dragged my carry-on onto my front porch, and I'm about to open the door, and my phone rings. And it was my friend Barry Feld. She's a rabbi's wife, and she's an educator. She lives in Cleveland, Ohio. She goes, hey, what's going on? I go, I just went away with these 7 other women, and we came up with these ideas, and the idea that I'm like pursuing is like, it's kind of like a birthright for moms, and to bring women to Israel, mothers to Israel, and send them back for a year follow-up, and the changes they can make. And you know what she said to me? She gave me the best advice. Lori, just don't get in God's way.
Wow.
Because what do? God can do anything. We get in God's way. Like, what if I fail? What will people think? Because people told us, like, we started this in 2008 in the worst economy since the Great Depression in America. People were like, women won't leave their kids, like all the naysayers, this and that and that. The government will never fund you. When God gives you clarity about something, sometimes you have something inside you and you're like, and even if people, like, I need to do this. So I always bless people that really, that God should give you tremendous clarity in every aspect of your life and the courage to live your clarity. Because sometimes we know,
huge.
but we don't have the courage to see it through.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think a lot of people are in a constant fight for that courage.
Yeah.
To live their authentic. what they
Our
know is
fears,
right.
they hold us back. And we said we shouldn't fear anything except God. Only fear God. Right? And that's the whole thing about what does it mean to fear God. But really, it's like, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Like what people are going to say.
Right.
People actually don't talk about you so much. You think like, I tell the women, like, you're going to like not switch your kids to a stronger school of values because what do people say? Oh, are they becoming more this? You know when people talk about you? They're at Starbucks and they're going to do their coffee order. And then they're going to go, did you hear that Julie is switching schools? Really, what's going on? She got back from Israel. She's like, well, what's happening? Did you hear I got a new car? Really, you got a new car? What kind of car? Okay. You're in between the order of Starbucks and talking about the new car. You're in between, past the chicken, past the peas. And that's how you're going to make life decisions for your kids? Come on.
Wow.
That is so good. And it is. It is
I
the
said, you
way.
get very little airtime in your friend's life. They're actually very self-absorbed, okay? They're talking about themselves, okay? You maybe get like a second, okay, while they're out for dinner, but that's it. This is your life. These are your kids. These are your future grandchildren. This is your legacy. Have some courage. Make the choice that you know are right for you.
And maybe consider the community and the friends.
Community and friends, who you hang out with, like, you think you're going to rise above your social group? It's,
Right.
who's impacting whom? Really. And, in my, for example, like in my social circles, gossiping, it would be like I lit up a cigarette in an elevator. Like that would be, I'd be a social pariah. If I told my friend, okay, like my friend Ruth, if I told my friend Ruth, like, do you hear what's going on with the Ratners? Like, I got some great gossip for you. She would go home and tell her husband, our kids can't marry their kids, okay? I'd be a social pariah. In certain other circles, if I don't gossip, I'm a social pariah. Who does she think she is? Oh, she thinks she's something. Like, if you say, like, we shouldn't talk about this. You hear?
Yeah.
Who you hang out with is who you become. My Revetson says, if you walk through a perfume factory and you don't buy anything, you still come out smelling sweet. And if you walk through a slaughterhouse and you don't buy anything, you come out smelling like dead meat.
That's true. Wow.
Wow.
Really good. I want to ask a few rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay, like Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. Number one, do you have any advice for our listeners? Any piece of advice? I think I've asked you in the past, if you could have a billboard, what would it say? That the whole world will see, and it's a message that hopefully they can apply into their life.
I would say, be all in.
Yes.
It's the best.
Whether it's your work, whether it's your community, whether it's your marriage. Most of marriage is being all in. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to work this out. It goes through every marriage goes through ups and downs. Spoiler alert. Okay, I'm all in. Be all in. Be all in with that kid, no matter where they're at. I'm here for you. I'm going to see that you through. Like, be all in, and you should be all in with God. I don't mean like in observance. I mean I'm in a relationship. I know God loves me. I'm all in.
So good. It's the best.
She's amazing. I'm saying because you're right in front of me. So like, unbelievable. You forget how good you are because we live near you. And we live in Rockville. We
Right.
followed you to Israel, but really is unbelievable.
I've applied this since I first heard it from you in my life, and it has totally changed everything because once you break down the barrier of commitment and you commit to something and you readily commit to things that you know are valuable for you, everything is sped up and you get so much more value out of it because you're not worried about what else could I be doing at this period of time. You're all in. You're in.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you hit home a lot is living with gratitude.
Yes.
Yes, I remember when you first started the movement, you had these bracelets that said, don't blame, don't complain, right? Which was really just have gratitude, which you're trying to get to. And you have a new saying. What's the new saying?
So our new one, instead of don't blame, don't complain, our bracelets now say see good, say good. Because we decided to go through the positives, see good, say good. Grateful people are happy people.
Yeah.
Grateful people are happy people. And so, because why should you have gratitude? If grateful people are happy, to appreciate. And gratitude should be our default. Like you're at a red light, you have time, instead of like going on your phone or switching stations. Gratitude. What am I grateful for right now? I'm alive.
That's so good.
Okay? Like I have a roof over my head. Somebody loves me at home. Like it's like just gratitude. Gratitude.
Wow.
I'll give you an example that somebody taught us that I taught my kids. And God made the world in a certain way. If you go into a grocery store, you go into the shuk here, okay, Machane Yehuda. What do you see? What are you overwhelmed
Colors.
by? The colors. The colors. The food here in Israel is amazing. But it's like you go into any grocery store, oranges and apples and melons. It's like, and all these different colors. Now imagine right now, God made all the fruit and vegetables beige.
Yeah.
Beige. Tastes the same.
He could
right?
have.
It tastes like an orange.
He could have.
It tastes like a cantaloupe.
Right.
Everything's beige. Okay. Same nutrients. Same taste.
Yeah.
The Talmud says a blind man doesn't enjoy his food.
Whoa.
Like there's a certain pleasure in the colors. So the example I give is an orange. Okay. Okay. So now you have an orange. Picture an orange. Okay. Okay. What is amazing about orange? First of all, it's a happy color. Okay.
Yeah.
Orange is a happy color.
Yeah.
Okay. God made this a happy color. He already pre-packaged your food. It's already packaged. Okay. Okay. Now you open it. He already sliced it. He sliced it for you.
Amazing.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Right. It's all divided. Okay.
Right.
if you take each one of these pieces and you open it up, it's got like 100 little packets of juice. So not only it satisfies your hunger, now it satisfies your thirst. Now say a blessing and eat the orange. Got it? If you stop for even a second, that's the blessing. It's like not to be like an animal at the trough. So where did this come from? Like, wow, why did Hashem make all these colors and all these smells and all these? Because he loves us and he wants us to have the greatest, most meaningful pleasure possible. And it's like, so food's a pleasure. You're a foodie. Daniel's a foodie,
Yes.
okay? My husband eats food because, like, he has to be alive, okay? But he's learned to appreciate food more because of Daniel. Daniel appreciates food. He's a foodie. It's like God made this beautiful world. Now, are you living to eat or eating to live, okay? Like, you can't be, it's not, but elevating something, taking the food, that's what blessings are all about. But you really see, you look around, like, wow, thank you. Thank you, God, for we have so much to be grateful for. Do we have challenges? Yes. But it's our choice. What are we going to focus on?
Right.
You focus on your blessings, or you focus on your challenges. It's your choice.
Just slow down a little bit and appreciate.
Even for a second.
Yeah.
Like before you sip the coffee, imagine like, you go to Starbucks, okay? What went into that coffee? Okay, imagine somebody in another country is planting and he's got a family and is and the bugs and the sun and the reaping and bringing it to market and then shipping it over, and that we have like clean water. Like not the whole world doesn't have clean water. Clean water, and I have a ridiculous amount of money and time to spend on, and I have 1,000 choices of how I want that coffee made. And now I sit down. Like now, say a blessing. Now be grateful and take a sip of that coffee. It's a different coffee. It would have tasted the same, but it's a deeper pleasure when you know the source to it.
Yeah, it's amazing how it works.
And the more you break it down, the better. You know, like at our Seder, when we say Dayenu. Okay, would have been enough, would have been enough. So this is when my husband stops the Seder and he goes, okay, let's all go around and why we're grateful to Ima, to me. This is my favorite part of the Seder. Okay, and they go around because Dayenu is about gratitude. If you would have done this but not taken me the next step, that would have been enough. Like I would have been grateful. And so when you break it down, and you know the part in the Seder where like the rabbis are playing, my husband calls it rabbinical poker. Like there were 10 miracles at the sea. No, there were 100. There were that. So what is he saying? Like, I'll raise you a miracle? Like what's going on here? Because you could say to your parents, like, you know, I met your mom. You could say, Mom, thanks for raising me. Or you could say, Mom, thank you for giving me life. Thank you for every diaper change. Thank you for every time you stayed up all night when I was sick. Thank you for every time you drove me to school. Thank you for helping with my homework. Thank you for every dollar you gave me. Thank you for every drive to the mall. Thank you for caring about me. Thank you. Now, do you hear? Or you could have just said, thanks for everything. Okay? The more we break down the gratitude. So if you're at the stoplight and you're like, break it down. Okay, I'm alive. There's gravity. I can breathe. I'm in a country that's relatively safe. Okay, be careful if you're in America. Okay, so break it down. Like all the things you're grateful for. You're walking from your car to Costco. Okay, I can walk. I have clean air. We have clean water. I have money. Break it down. The more you break it down, the more grateful, the more pleasure.
Wow. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately, but I wanted to give our viewers a chance to hear from you. Where else can they hear from you, and how do they get involved with a Momentum trip?
Okay, so here's what you do. So go to the website, momentumunlimited.org. Momentumunlimited.org. And you'll see a whole world of podcasts and webinars and opportunities to sign up for trips. And we're bringing them again from 35 different countries in partnership with other organizations, and women's trips, men's trips. We have specialty trips called Momentum Grand, because most of the other trips are really geared for women who are very sort of distantly connected to their Jewish identity and their Jewish community, and they have children at home under the age of 18. But there are some women who maybe either are more connected Jewishly or who have aged out of that category. So we have something called Momentum Grand, which is not subsidized. The other one is a free trip, not including airfare. This one is 5-star, body and soul, spas. It's beautiful. Wow. But you also wisdom for your stage of life, and we all need. I always say, like, every year you have your physical, every year you should have a spiritual. Like, what are you doing for your annual spiritual?
Wow, I love that.
I have to tell you that one of the greatest feelings I get in the world is when I get to go to a final banquet, which I get to do because living in Israel, and you get to see these women at the end of the trip, and it's almost like there's this energy in the room. Every woman I talk to, they're like, they're so on fire.
Yeah.
They're so on fire.
Yeah.
It's
They
unbelievable.
say, except for having children, this was the greatest experience of my life.
Yeah.
They never say except for getting married, but they say except for having children. This is it is such a pleasure, and I thank you for your support of what we do, and you always believed in us, and you're the one who jump-started the men, because when the woman has the experience, and then her husband comes and has experience, now you're on the same page, like, look out, family, okay?
Yeah.
Really, it's great for your marriage, and it's great for the values of your home, and you're speaking the same language, and it's for your kids. It's such a privilege to be part of this.
Wow. Well, Rebbetzin, thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
joining us.
Pleasure.
Yes.
There's so much more to say. Hopefully we can have you back. I'd love to hear more about what built you and your background. So there's so much more we can talk about.
Well, you know where I live.
Thank you thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Fish and Code Show. I hope you enjoyed.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the Fish and Code Show.
If you like what you just watched, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment with any ideas you'd like to see on any future episodes.
We'll see you next time.